So like I said in the last video, when we were moving around in the viewports, we were moving our perspective. Now we want to move objects themselves. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to go Alt-W to go back to a 4-viewport world view. And I'm going to change these things back to a familiar place. So orthographic could become perspective, and I could even send it home. And what do we have? We'll change this to top. And we've got front, and we'll change this to left. Those are my standard views right there. Okay, so to move objects around, we need to use some of these controls on the main toolbar. The first one that we'll try is the select and move. Right now we're in the select object, you can see, because it's blue. And like I was saying before, it's kind of nice because you really can't get in trouble with this tool. By the way, I could select a single object. I could draw a marquee and select multiple objects. I could select objects in the Scene Explorer. More about the Scene Explorer later. Alright, but I want to move objects, right? So I'll go here to my Select and Move tool, click that, click on, let's say, the teapot right here, and you'll see that I get what's called a gizmo. The gizmo has various parts to it, but if I was just to go, let's say to the arrow, the blue arrow up, you can see that it's raising my object up, and you can see it going up in the front viewport, the left viewport, and the perspective viewport. Sometimes it's really convenient to work in all four because you can see those various movements. Sometimes it's just easier to work in just the one. It just depends on the situation. And it's easy to go from one to the other because, for instance, if I was wanting to work in just the one, I'll just go Alt-W. There it is. Okay. I'm going to do another thing. So you see this bounding box right here? These white edges? They sometimes, gets a little bit confusing. It's just more stuff to look at. I can get rid of those really easily just pushing J on the keyboard. J, once again, they'll come back. And for right now, J on the keyboard, just to get rid of those so we can look at our gizmo a little bit more. Once again, we have the select and move. It's called the select and move because you can do both. You could move an object, but you can also select with that object. Okay. Most of the time the gizmo as it comes will be just fine, but you can make it bigger by pushing the plus key on your keyboard, or you could make it smaller by pushing the minus key. Right now we'll make it nice and big so we can see it well. You can see that the gizmo is sort of broken up into different parts. So if I go with the blue arrow, I can just go up and down. If I go with the red arrow, I can go on the x-axis. If I go with the green arrow, I can go on the y-axis. And these are all very straight. By the way, have you ever noticed that I'm just doing something and then I undo it real quick? That's easy. Let me show you how that's done. So if I was to move something around, let's say I'm on my blue z-axis and I'm pushing down my left click button and I'm moving it up. Now before I take my finger off the left click button, if I click on the right one, once again, I've not taken my finger off the left button and I click on the right one, it's an instant undo. And oh my lord, that is a convenient thing. You'll find if you work in other computer programs, you'll find yourself doing that and it won't work for other programs and you'll be very frustrated because it is a really nice thing. Once again, if I was, let's say, moving on my left axis and I wanted to undo what I just did a second ago without taking my finger off, I can click the right click and I'm back to where I was. That's really nice. Okay, so anyways, back to my gizmo. As you saw, we could go up, we could go on these other axes, or we could go in between the axes. So you can see here how in between the Y and the Z axis, or the green and the blue axis, right? If I hold my mouse in between, then this square becomes golden, and now I can go between those axes. Where's that? Axes. Right click while still holding on to that, and I can go back to where I was. Obviously, I could do the same thing with the blue and the red, or the Z and X axis. And what can be really convenient is between the green and the red, or the Y and the X axis down here. See this one down here. That is a really super convenient one. The other one is you've got this golden square down here. You know, I don't recommend using it much because it's just going to kind of mess you around. And it will just basically freeform move you anywhere. You probably don't want to do that. Okay, the other thing besides moving things around with the gizmo is that you could move them around with these coordinates down here. Right now, if we look at this, we say like, okay, well, we're a little bit towards the minus on the X and a little minus on the Y, and we are at 0 on the Z. Watch what happens to the Z coordinate as I move up and down on there. Okay, we're either going into the positive Z area, in other words, up above the grid, or we're going down below the grid into the negative area. If I want to make a precise movement, I can move around on these coordinates. So for instance, if I wanted to move this, just to positive something, let's say positive 5 or somewhere around there, I could move this till I get to that. And I could use the spinners. The spinners are the up and down arrow. And I'm just clicking around here until I get it just so. Well, that's proving to be a real pain in the butt. So you know what I could do is I could highlight this whole area right here and just type it in. Okay, so I've highlighted that like you would on any other computer program. I'm just going to hit 5. There it is, and enter. Now I'm at exactly 5. Let's say I wanted this to be at exactly 5 as well. So I'm going to highlight the y-axis. I'm going to type in 5. I'm going to hit, or did I type in 6? Didn't I? Here, 5. Okay, and enter. And that's moved me to exactly 5 on this axis. Okay, if I want to center this out, then I could either type in a 0, 0, and that's going to center it. You see how that's right on that axis right there. Or I can right click on the spinner, and that's a very handy thing to know. So look at the y-axis right here. Here are the spinners. If I put my cursor right over those, and I right click them, watch what happens. Boom, goes to 0. Isn't that nice? So I can get things all monkeyed up here. And if I want to center something, I just right click over the spinner, boom. Over the spinner. Doesn't work over the numbers, right? I get a whole other menu here. No, but over the spinner, right click, and I can zero things out. So that's how you move things around in a nutshell. So in the next one, I'll teach you how to rotate and possibly also how to make things bigger or smaller.